This is your 20-minute podcast, where we do our best to give you useful information in 20 minutes or less. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now, here's your host, David Brower.
David Brower with your 20-minute podcast. And welcome to our special guest, Lee Caraher, currently in New York, but travels back and forth between both coasts, is the author of the Boomerang Principle, Inspire a Lifetime of Loyalty from Your Employees. She's an entrepreneur and CEO with over 20 years experience building positive, high-performing work teams. Man, isn't that what every business is looking for today?
I hope so. It's
right?
My mission in life.
Good for you. So how did you get that mission? Where did the epiphany come that goes, I got to go do this?
You know, my epiphany, I've been in business for a long time in my own company for this year will be our 15th year.
Wow.
And I sort of woke up one day and go, you know, it shouldn't just be this hard. It should just be much easier.
Yeah.
And I started looking at the things that are pain points and figured out how to make it better. And from that, in my own company, just am on a mission to share what we learned the hard way so that other people don't have to do it.
Good for you. Good for you. So I'm sure there was some ups and downs and probably more downs for a while. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, well, let's go that way.
Yeah. Let's go that way. There's a
lot
of advice for big companies. There's not a lot, there's a lot of advice for entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized companies,
right? Just
about operations, but not necessarily about how to create a really positive, happy workplace that becomes an efficiency machine. The great things we were doing were being covered up by the fact that it wasn't efficient. And I think, our inefficiency was sort of human generated, not process generated.
Okay.
And when sort of peel the onion on that, created a way of working that is much more efficient and also creates a lot more goodwill in the world and has eased our recruiting and our business development so much that just tried to name it. And that's when it became the Boomerang Principle.
I'll be darned. Good for you. So tell me how that works, basically. I mean, I know it's more complicated than the question I just asked, but how does it basically work? I mean, where did you find the thing to go, okay, let's get our people to work this way together?
Well, the Boomerang Principle is that those companies that allow and encourage former employees to return have a strategic advantage over those that don't. Because if you create a place where people want to come back to, you create a place where good people don't want to leave fast. And in today's environment, with sort of the comments around no one's loyal anymore, right. Everyone job hops, can't count on anybody anymore. Those things are not necessarily untrue. But if we change our mindset to say, I don't want someone just to be loyal to my company while I pay them. I want them to be loyal to my company for their duration of their career. That just sort of opens up a whole nother set of opportunity for a mutual relationship that transcends tenure and can be very lucrative over the long term in terms of ease of recruiting, ease of business development, bringing people back who have different skill sets later in their career, but who are highly aligned with you. And anytime you can shorten the period of time that you're recruiting or onboarding, you are driving efficiency and happiness into your workplace.
Boy, no question. That makes all the sense in the world. So and I got to think that bringing people back helps foster camaraderie, teamship,
Absolutely.
That whole thing, right? It creates a whole different environment internally that you didn't have before. Yeah.
So I think when I had this epiphany, I used to work for a much larger company, an internationally huge company, and I had about 800 people in my organization. And because my company's a public relations and digital marketing firm, most of our business is time, right? And so if you don't have people, you can't build time. And sort of at that time in the economy, it was don't lose any people because then you can't bill all your time. And if you can't build time, you can't make your numbers, et cetera. And it was a revolving door of people coming into my office and saying, I got another job offer. I'm expecting a counter. If you counter me, I will stay. But, you counter someone and they're there for 6 months and they end up leaving anyway, right? And one day I was going, I'm not countering anymore. I'm done. And the next day someone walked in my office. I got another job offer and I said, good luck. And he was like, aren't you going to counter? I'm like, no, I'm not countering.
No.
And he was very, very incensed. I said, you're already out the door, but you can come back. I hope that you come back here when you've, gotten everything you can out of that next job. And he didn't come back. He was really pissed. What happened was when I stopped countering and started saying to people, whatever you want to do, I'm going to help you do what you want in your career. And I hope that you come back here. Everyone stopped leaving.
Wow. How empowering is that?
Incredible. Because we spent all of our time, I had reserved budget for countering because that was sort of what we had to do. And I took all that resource and I put it into the people who were not looking for other work. And all of a sudden people stopped leaving. So, for not a good reason. I think it's, no career is going to stay in one place anymore. We know that this is a bad move for people. Our economy has told us this over and over again. We know when we hire someone, they're going to leave us. So how about putting all the effort into making it the best, most productive environment while people are with us, instead of bemoaning the fact they're going to leave the company? Because unless you own the thing, everyone's leaving you.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah. And the other thing I would think is when you give them that non-counter pitch and they go into shock for a while.
Yeah.
Once they leave and go to that next job, they got to be thinking, "Wow, maybe I should keep Lee's name in my in my speed dialer just in case this doesn't work out."
Say, but part of the opportunity too is that we've created a corporate alumni program. So I try to keep everybody who leaves us close to us in an alumni program that has regular communication, that offers, when we have opportunities to offer discounts through our clients or whatever, that offers that to them too, that provides some of the information that we provide to our other employees around training. We put that up in our private network as well. Every time we have a job opening, we ask our alumni first, do you know anybody? And then if they bring someone to us, we compensate them. It's not a huge amount of dollars, but, it's a thank you.
Yeah.
And if you have the mechanism to keep contact with people, make it known that you want to keep in relationship with the people who, at one time worked for you.
Right.
The inclination for your former employees to keep those relationships alive is much higher.
Oh my gosh, the alumni program's brilliant.
Well, thank you.
I mean, no, it is. It's absolutely brilliant. Oh my gosh.
I mean, the alumni program is an engine for creating the positive things that a Boomerang principle says, which is people can return, or that people will, after they leave you, will advocate for you out in the marketplace, either as a partner or as an employer or as a contractor or whatever, right?
Right.
We want to have, just like colleges and universities, are powered by their alumni programs, either in recruiting, matriculation, or fundraising. Corporations can be powered by their alumni programs in terms of recruiting, onboarding, and business development. And in this war for talent is going to be more and more in charge, no matter how size the company is, right?
Right.
And the more we can create those relationships that are not dependent on paying somebody, the stronger those entities are.
That's amazing. So the other thing I like about that is whether they work for you or are in the alumni program, they're a face for your company.
Absolutely. And you want people out there saying good things. Like I always say to everybody at Double Forte, so Double Forte, like I said, it'll be 15 years old this year. We're a small company. We're, a $5 million business. We have 37 people. We're small. I don't want to be big. I've already done that. Right. But everyone who comes into my business, I say, I want you to be here as long as you want to be, as long as you're, we have a very high level of performance that we basically demand.
Right.
With that goes a lot of different opportunities for growth and compensation and different things. But the most important thing to me is that when you leave here, which you will do, that you will be proud of the time you spent with us. And you will look back over time and say, you know what, that was time well spent in my career. Business today, we have, like I said, 36 people. And right now we have 7 people who have boomeranged back to us.
Wow.
Either worked for us very early on or
20%?
About 20%, 20 something percent, right?
Yeah.
So, but over time, over the 15 years, the number is actually 13 or 14. And then we have another 7 people who have become clients, And probably 87% of our alumni have very strong ongoing relationships with us.
Wow.
So, when people come back, I can say they don't come back the same person that they left, right? They come back with new experiences.
Right.
We are different because our business, we're made up of people, and every time you add or subtract a person, the entity changes. But when people are encouraged to come back, and they do come back, they bring their own war stories,
Right.
It's not so good out there. And that's probably true for most companies, right? Most companies have the opportunity to create that goodwill if they bother to try. And my point of view is that those companies that do bother to try are going to have, and no one's going to be perfect, but if you bother to try, you're going to have a strategic advantage over those companies that don't. People come back as they have much more responsibility on their own, for their own careers.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's really what, we know that companies are not, we have proven it over and over again that business works for business, right? A company to carry their career, and that it's really a person's responsibility to create their own career. So sometimes, particularly younger people might leave before they should because they feel like, the company's not offering me enough. But they go into the world and they find companies that most companies don't offer what they want, right?
Right.
In terms of, you carry me. And the more we can have people understand that they are the crafters of their own career, and if people come back to you, that's a choice. That's a choice they're making to say, you know what? Nothing's perfect, but this is pretty good.
Yeah. So if they're out there in the workforce looking for someone to carry them, is that a millennial mindset?
Everyone says it's a millennial mindset, and I think it's a entitled mindset. And I don't think you have to be millennial to be entitled. My experience is that I'm a millennial champion, and part of my first book is called Millennials in Management, The Essential Guide to Making It Work at Work. And that was born out of our experience of failing miserably at retaining millennials and figuring it out. And I moved from millennials are entitled to millennials are conditioned and not prepared point of view. And when I did that, I was able to, with the rest of my team, sort of create an environment that transitioned young people from college to the workplace without as much pain. As really most millennials, recent college graduates, they're just not prepared for the reality of work based on the education system and how they've been in our culture. And so as businesses, we can either beat our head against the wall, or we can figure out how to embrace it all, because they have so much to offer. They know so much. They have different definitions of almost everything that a boomer does, and I'm a boomer. So understanding where those things are, or where those pain points are, and getting ahead of them is the key to creating those intergenerational teams that really work well together. Mutual mentorship is probably the most valuable thing you can do in a business environment, where you have people who are 20 years apart in age who are really helping each other understand the workplace and understand mindsets. The thing there, what I always recommend is that, everyone reads something every day. What's my reading list? What's your reading list? And that if you're in a mentor-mentee relationship, that you switch lists for a month and you read what your mentee is reading or your mentor is reading. And all of a sudden your mind sort of, that's what's going in there. No wonder they're informed that way, right? Because it used to be that we all read the same things. But that's not today's environment. Today's, cable news environment, online news environment, it's such an echo chamber that we are not exposed to all of the same information. We're exposed to the information we choose versus the information that is sort of the de facto. One example I have is that in my company, we have a book club, and everyone reads the same book. I have everybody read the same book every 2 months. So it's 6 books a year. And at least that makes sure that, and then we talk about them, but at least that is a common input to the team, regardless of age, so that we have common language. Because too often, I think, particularly business books, often are read only by management. And that is the biggest mistake I think that management makes, is airing where they're getting their inspiration from. Or they go into training and they come out speaking a different language. And, the other people are going, what just happened? There was another training. Management went on a retreat. Exactly. I choose 3, and then depending on the topics, we do it on topics as well as. So I usually choose 3 of the 6, and then other people nominate other books. I have an office in New York, and I have an office here in San Francisco. So my business is in 2 places. And then I do workshops and, speeches and all that kind of stuff on both coasts as well. What people should do is go to www.leecaraher.com or follow me at Lee Caraher on Twitter.
Okay. And it's Caraher, just like it sounds. Thank you so much. And again, plug your books and where people can get those as well. So
my books are at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and you can also find them on my website at leecaraher.com. And I hope that they're helpful to people and they help make their companies more happy places.
Absolutely. It's great what you're doing. And man, there's a whole bunch of new light bulbs went off in my head today. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
You bet. You've been listening to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower and our special guest, Lee Caraher. We hope you listen over and over again, and be sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/your 20-minute podcast.
Until next time, don't forget to download your free audiobook at audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast. That's audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast for your free audiobook. And thanks for listening to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower.